The Deepest Web Podcast with Jonathan Hayes.
Or digital.
Right. Okay, so what about mixing and mastering? Do you do that inside your DAW, or do you?
Yeah, all of it.
Okay.
I went back to Greece where I have my studio. It's been there since 2003. I do not have any hardware or anything like that. I mean, apart from the obvious monitors and sound card, whatever.
So
Yeah, I did it all there. I did all the mastering on Fruit Loops basically, and then I used Adobe Audition to do some final tweaking.
Ooh, fancy.
It's just simple stuff. You know what? I just do stuff with whatever is available, and even if you got me into a studio, and I've been in a studio many times, if you got me into a studio with analog compression and stuff, I'm like, you know what? No, man, I'm just gonna use like Cool Edit Pro, which is from 1999. I'm one of those people who get really stuck in the way they work and never change. So I'm still using these old methods I used to use in 2003, which are really counterproductive, but I'm still using the same methods, you know what I mean? And I can't change, you know what I mean?
You do what you know, man. You do what you know. I mean, there's actually countless famous producers. And when I say producers, I'm not really probably referring to any modern high production producers, but a lot of albums that sold millions and millions of copies were done by producers record producers that used ancient software. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Flood, the guy who did a lot of the Smashing Pumpkins and just a shit ton of rock albums that sold platinum shit, used like an old laptop with old software on it to do most of that stuff because that's what he knew. And nothing wrong with that.
Well, I know Apex Twin does this. He uses trackers still, and many people do it. I mean, definitely. But it's funny because the things I do are highly counterproductive, man, and I know that. It's like I'm taking 10 steps to do what other people take 2 steps to do.
But it works. But it works.
And well, it does. But here's the thing: I know those 2 steps that other people take. I just can't do it. You know what I mean? I just have to follow the 10 steps I know how to do, and it's.
So biggest advice to for mastering for people who are looking for, I guess you would say, the transient sound.
Oh, for the tramps themselves specifically, well, Sound Goodizer, go fuck yourselves. Those elitist freaks out there, who Sound fucking Goodizer. It's look, I'm just gonna spill the straight method, right? You put a compressor, you put a slide compressor which emulates analog compressors, okay? And then after that, you put Sound Goodizer, and you never exceed 9 o'clock on the knob. Never.
So wait, repeat that about the compressors one more time. What were you saying?
You're going to. This is VHS Dreams secrets, people. You on your master chain, right? First, you put a compressor which emulates analog compressors. You can use whichever one you like a digital one. You know what I mean? A digital analog modeled 80s compressor, and you compress slightly. That's very important. Then you put Sound Goodizer, and you never exceed 9 o'clock on the knob. You know what I mean? So you only use Sound Goodizer slightly as well. So we've got one slight tape compressor, like tape emulation compressor, and one slight Sound Goodizing. And then after that, you use a limiter. So basically, you compress twice, and you limit once. That's what I do. And obviously, before all that, on your master chain, you can put an equalizer if needed. Maybe it's not. Maybe you do the equalizing, fine-tuning on each specific channel. You know what I mean? But maybe you don't, so you want to fix things. So you just put an equalizer before all that on your master chain. So that's how the master chain goes. Equalizer, analog emulation compression, just a bit of sound goodizer, and limiting, and basically that's it. Try it out,
One more technical question. So in mixing, what is your ethos for mixing and whatnot?
My ethos is the ethos that every house producer out there uses, and every trance producer, which is make a good kick, make good kick sound what you like, then put it on full volume on the channel, and then put everything else down to zero, all the other notes, all the other channels, put them to zero, and then start building upwards. The kick has to be first in this whole affair.
Old school.
Yeah, New York style.
Right.
You do this, and so, and if you want a bit more if we can go, I don't know if we have time to go into more in depth about this, but I'll be quick. You do the kick, you put it on 100%, and then you. I suggest you. The next ones you mix are the bass and the rest of the drums. Leave everything else like on zero. Don't listen to it at all. Just raise the volume on the bass and the rest of the drums. So, and mix this, right? So if you got the kick and the drums and the bass all working together on their own, I think that the track is going to be 90% successful already. If you're going for the Tram Sam sound or this kind of sound, right? Because if you're going
for groove centric sound,
exactly. If you go for something else, there are other styles and techniques you can use. But if you're going for this one, then you do this: kick, drums, and bass. If they all fit together and they fit well, and you're happy with it, then you start raising the volume on the other stuff, and then you just make it. It's gonna sit nice and tight if you follow this route.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's interesting to get into stuff like this because no one else really talks about it. And a lot of people, which I mean, it's okay for everyone to have secrets, but a lot of people are closely guarded about their way of doing things, which is, I guess, your prerogative.
I have no secrets at all, apart from one, which I'm not going to share now, I can't say never, but it's going to be very controversial if I ever share this. I will share it with you when we're off air, but I'm not going to share this publicly. It's going to infuriate lots of people, especially people who love analog. But let's just keep this a myth for now, a legend. You know what I mean?
The mythos.
But one other thing that I would like to say about people is like, try and make an interesting bass line, and forget about the rest. Like do your kick and drums, right? Try and make an interesting bass line. Make a bass line which you would think, okay, if I only had this bass line, nothing else, the track would sound great. And if you do that, you're like 99% there. You know what I mean? You've finished the song. So if you listen to Transam, REDM is a perfect example of this, right? The bass line. The bass line is the melody, basically. You know what I mean? It's the hook, but it's a bass. So most people don't think of the bass as the melody. It's there to support. Well, in REDM, it's not there to support. It's the main hook. So yeah, you can start by doing these things, especially if you're going through a writer's block. You can start doing these things, and they're going to take you out of writer's block, I think.
Nice. Yeah, from departing from Trans Am and talking more about